Shout out to our sponsors at IconBet. Open source, decentralized gaming, no deposits, play straight from your wallet. IconBet, made by the players, for the players. Ion Icon is proudly supported by Icon Nation and the Icon community.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Eye on Icon, the episode where we go around the ecosystem and bring you all the weekly news. And with me, as always, is our co-host, Icongrapher. How are you today?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I was, we were worried, weren't we, getting this episode done today? Just could not coordinate the times, and it's just all worked through in the morning, which is great.
Yeah, between our day jobs and the time zone change, as always, there was small windows. But I think we're technically a day late, so hopefully nobody holds that against us. But yeah, sometimes it's hard to normal line up at our normal time. So please forgive us.
Yep. And look, well, it's a day late, and the markets are having a slight correction. And usually, when we come on, and by the time this gets to air, it really causes a rebound in the price. So fingers crossed, we do it again. We pull off the old switcheroo on the markets. So, how are they looking today? What are your thoughts?
Well, we went from what was it, like 61 or something like that to 67 in, I don't know, what was that, like 2 days or something. Even going from like 63 to 67 was pretty quick. So we kind of blasted through all time high, within a few hours, and all the way up to 67. So it made sense that we would see a correction there on Bitcoin. Obviously, the story from our perspective has been, while Bitcoin pumps, the altcoins have kind of been staying a bit stable. Icon especially. I think, if as far as my portfolio is concerned, some of them started to get some traction. I feel like it was also the ones that had kind of been delayed the most in picking up some traction prior to the last run. So I think altogether, if you're fairly diversified, your portfolio as a whole has still gone up. But I do think, there's a lot of expectation that, as always, Bitcoin will do its thing, and then it'll start to trickle down into the other tokens, and then all the way down. And that's potentially where you get the alt season. Bitcoin dominance is still in the high 40s, so it certainly has a lot of room to drop if that alt season ever does come. And it's just kind of a matter of right now. I think it's a matter of patience. I think half my Twitter feed right now is just of kind of some of the folks I follow who are traders and have been in crypto for a long time. And it's kind of the mantra is, the worst thing you can do right now is overtrade or try to do too much. If you just kind of sit on our hands for the next few months, that's kind of the best path forward. Which I don't. Again, not financial advice, but probably something I don't disagree with. I'm also just a natural, holder by just the way I've done things. So I haven't moved too much stuff around over the last 6 months, other than buying some dips here and there. So it's easy for me. But if you're, I think the worst thing people try to start to, they see one token pump, so they try to catch it, and then so they sell one that hasn't pumped, and then that one pumps, and so this is a game I saw play out and even participated a little bit in back in 2017, and yeah, usually doesn't work well. So I think have conviction in the decisions that you made hopefully during the bear season, or at least as the bull market was heating up, and potentially just let those positions ride unless you have a really strong reason to not do that. I think that again, that's just kind of synthesizing a lot of the chatter I'm seeing, and kind of that's consistent with my own philosophy as well.
I think you're right, but the thing is, no one's going to listen. Anyone new in the space, what I mean by that is when you're new, you're just going to make these mistakes. You're going to go, no,
Oh
I
yeah,
can catch
there's no
that.
hope. Yeah, there's no hope. There's no hope for the people who just got in,
Yeah.
just because it's too powerful. Crypto is too powerful of a force. The FOMO is too powerful a force, and it's just part of the learning process. I think people who went through that last time around, they know a lot better than to avoid those mistakes, or at least most of those mistakes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for new folks, until you've actually experienced and seen it play out with your own hands and your own money, it's hard to really impart that lesson on people, because they all they've really seen is the price go up, because they probably didn't show up. They probably didn't show up during the bear market. They probably showed up right when the bull market was starting to heat up.
Yeah. Agree. Look, again, I like always coming back to on-chainers. I know, Icongraph, I've noticed you started following a few as well, and we've been
Yep.
consistently giving updates on them, and they, even through the volatility, they were consistently going, no, the data is saying that long-term holders are stacking, holding, very bullish. So obviously, when we had this all-time high, there was a bit of celebration from there because it was literally, I guess, it was almost a case of TA versus on-chain, right? And on-chain were very bullish, and TA, everything about TA was flashing bearish indicators. So all of a sudden, the on-chainers have come through. The data has proved to be right. So they were celebrating. That said, I think as soon as we hit this all-time high, the funding rates and stuff, so it's positive because it was spot-driven. So this is good for the markets. But overall, people are getting greedy. They're seeing Bitcoin and Ethereum starting to rise, so they're going in to get extra funding and hopefully keep catching that wave. Now, what usually tends to happen there is if it's just driven from that end, we will see some kind of flushing happen through the markets where we see those insane candles that drop, 10K and go back up. This is basically to flush those fundings, liquidate a lot of people. So just an FYI, they have indicated since yesterday, and we're kind of seeing a bit of that come to fruition today with these drops. They expected a bit of chop again. They're still extremely bullish because this is strictly to do with the longs and shorts and things like that. It's not spot driven. But overall, I think we're seeing this play out. I've got Bitcoin displayed at the moment, and you can see it's had a bit of a $8,000 drop, but ideally you want to see those lending rates refresh, and then as they point out, when that happens, then onwards and upwards we proceed to go. But again, not financial advice. I tend to notice when they make calls like this, it takes a few days to play out, as we saw with even the last on-chain where they were very bullish and it took a little while before it finally happened. But yeah, I think that's a good summary of the markets. Let's jump into the news. The big one.
I think what everyone's been focused on the most, I'd say lately, is the Icon 2.0 migration process. So as of, I think it was yesterday, the stage 1 of the migration is officially complete. So it's basically moving a lot of the data, of the block data, over to the new Icon 2.0. This is a process that Brian from Rhizome talked about on the podcast 3 weeks ago, I think, right before it went into effect. So he definitely mentioned technically how it works a lot better than I would have. But nonetheless, we're done with phase 1. That was the phase that was supposed to take 2 to 3 weeks. I think it took about 10 days or a week and a half or so. I guess that's kind of the same thing. So it's certainly good to see it move quicker than expected. Just for obvious reasons. So now we move on to stage 2, and actually, so there's another. I guess the other aspect of stage 1 we're still waiting for is all the P reps have to update their loop chain. Last I heard, and this was like a few hours ago, if not kind of yesterday my time, was there were still four P reps that hadn't done this. I don't know if they've done that since then.
Come on,
been able to check, update. They might have by the time you're listening to this. So just something to keep in mind. But once the deadline is October 26th. But as soon as, if all the P reps are ready by then, it can move ahead. It can move ahead sooner to stage 2, which is when the P reps are able to download and run the new node software GoLoop and import the new database generated in stage 1. This process takes about 2 or 3 days. And then once all the P reps are synced with the mainnet, the network can move forward to stage 3 when the P reps activate Icon 2.0 on the mainnet. I'm reading off of the Iconist article right now, so partly paraphrasing, but partly quoting. And then quoting now, when the time comes, the Icon Foundation will submit a network proposal to upgrade the network revision. If P reps approve this proposal, Icon 1 will automatically stop producing blocks, and Icon 2, that is Icon 2.0, will start. So probably about a week left, because I think both of those stage 2 and stage 3 take about 2 to 3 days. And so hopefully by now, all the P reps would have turned on or upgraded their updated their loop chain. So we're, I think by the time we record next time, we might have Icon 2.0 officially launched. Either that or very, very close. So certainly exciting 7 days ahead, and something we've been waiting for I think basically the beginning of the year, if I recall correctly,
Yep.
is pretty close to happening.
Yep. This is great news. I mean, I want to do a bit of a drum roll. Everyone should be making a lot more noise than that is happening at the moment, I feel. But overall, this is fantastic because you have to remember the original communication with the stage 1 was 2 to 3 weeks. Now, I don't know. Time is flying by because we've been in lockdown here for now, I don't even know how many months, but it feels, I know it's over 200 and something days, but it hasn't felt like a week or so has gone by since stage 1 started, and we're done already. So and kudos to Naeem, who's been keeping everyone updated on the Icon Discord. So if you are not there yet, you should be. That's where the community has been growing. Side note, it's gone from 700 to 1,200 people already, so get in there. You may be lucky as well and find TJ jumps on some live chats and start talking and dropping alpha to everyone. So really join the Icon Discord. But coming back here, it's gone quick. We're on stage 2. I can't believe we're waiting on 4 P-reps to update. There were 2 that you mentioned. I really hope they've got their, pardon my French, shit together and get it moving. Come on, we're there. Let's do this. Let's make it happen. So exciting times. You can see I'm excited because I've even gotten faster as I'm talking about it. So, this is great. I cannot wait for this to actually happen, because we know one of the things, apart from BTP and all this stuff that will kick into gear, one of the first things that will happen is the changes to the P-rep rewards and the way inflation works, which is exciting because, as you know, inflation will now route, a lot more inflation will actually route into the CPS fund. So huge. And so consistently we should see around 200,000 ICX routed into the CPS fund, I believe, from a figure I heard, but don't quote me on that. But essentially that's what will be happening, and then there's more money there, more builders, more stuff like that. So exciting times ahead. Next, anything else? Sorry, Icongrapher, you were saying?
I just said absolutely.
Yep. Okay, next up. So this I feel like this got announced a little bit, but now we're seeing a little more detail around it. Arcade Node. So the foundation a couple of weeks back announced a partnership with Arcade Node. Who are they? There's, I believe, maybe a new P-rep, but essentially they focused on this marketing where they actually go to universities and different places and hold events and try to introduce that crowd to different ecosystems, things like that. So the foundation has partnered with them, and they're going to be running all kinds of panels at different universities, first in New York, and you can see that they're starting the Icon University Alliance, so let's see what that ends up being. But a great little initiative. I'm saying little because it is little, but it's niche and it's great. It's trying to get people educated in different areas rather than just running ads and stuff on Twitter. So this is a different take. Excited to see what comes from it. It was actually interesting to see that even Scott's going to be out there in the panel in New York. So hopefully we know he can articulate and get the message across of everything going on in Icon brilliantly. So great person to have there holding these forums as well. And what did you think about this, Icongrapher?
The partnership?
Yeah.
No, I think anytime we can help kind of expand the reach of Icon and everything like that is always good. I think this wasn't like the biggest, flashiest, like most amazing, partnered with the Korean government kind of thing, but you can't always get that. So I think everything that can be done, even if it's on a smaller scale than kind of what expectations are, as long as there's forward progress, forward movement, that's always a good sign.
Yep. Good. Okay, well, look, let's move on. I think this was, we'll swap this around. I think this was quite good. So Scott tweeted this out, and there's this new website, myiconcommunity.com, And so we have an iconist who's created this website that basically aggregates all the different, anything to do with Icon 2.0, BTP, ICE, into a website where you can just go and read everything. And Icon's even got its own space on the website, so automatically as we upload episodes, they will feed into this website. It's brilliant. I've got it on screen here. And Iconographer, you know, when I saw this, do you remember one of the first conversations when we were planning Iron Icon I had with you? I was telling you it wouldn't be cool like if it evolved into this site that aggregates all the Icon news in one spot.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, and then so this Iconist has done it, and it's brilliant. It's so good. I don't know if you had a second to check it out, but I highly recommend you do.
Yeah, no, he actually messaged me right after he launched it and said, "Hey, I just built this. Go check it out." So I definitely did. And yeah, I think it, especially, you know, I can just envision someone who just stumbled upon Icon. I think it's a great way to kind of everything's there kind of in one place. You know, the Iconist kind of does something something similar, but I think this one kind of does a good job of, you know, the Iconist has a lot of in-house content that gets aggregated pretty well, but I think this is a good aggregator of everything that's happened, you know, because there's, you know, like I've got my Medium page, and then, you know, Brian has his blog, and then, you know, the foundation has their blog, and we have an Icon. So a way to take all those feeds and kind of conglomerate them into one like central news spot. I think that's very helpful, and it was great to see the initiative taken on by this community member who their name on KNWYHWH. So a little hard to pronounce, but certainly wanted to shout them out and give them a follow if you have not already.
Yep. Couldn't say it better myself, and yeah, this is brilliant. Well done. Okay, so the next thing, quickly touching on HX57, the bounties are still going. In fact, Twitter feeds have been full of all these different submissions of the bounties, which is great to see. So there's 3 of them. I think I do have a little bit. I think, I don't know, one of these we're not getting as many submissions, but overall, definitely this round has seen a huge amount of submissions come through with this Gangstabet theme that has been running. So well done, everyone. And if you haven't already, make sure you check it out. There's you know, ton of GBet to be won and some money to be included in second and third prizes. Although it would have been good for the money and all the prizes, but you know what? You're getting something for just doing something, so why not? If you haven't already, jump in there and submit some content. Any thoughts?
Moving on to you said it all.
Great. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, sorry. Moving on to Balanced. So actually, pretty good chunk of news this week. I mean, I guess every week has had a good chunk of news, but it seems like even more so to talk about with Balanced this week. First was this came as a bit of a surprise. I mean, there might have been some chatter about this that I was unaware of, but basically, there's a new pairing on Balanced, which is between BNUSD and USDT. So this is the first appearance of USDT on Balanced, and it's helpful to have another BNUSD/stable pair pairing as well. So kind of a double bonus. And of course, you know, the way to get USDT into Icon is to port it over on Orbit Bridge from Ethereum. So for those who have not used Orbit Bridge, it's very easy to use from my perspective. I haven't had any issues with it. I haven't heard of anyone having any issues with it. It takes a little bit of time, so it's not like instant, but it's still, you know, I've usually gotten all my funds within, I think, 10 to 15 minutes or so, if not quicker. And so if you have some USDT sitting around on Ethereum and you want to get some better yield on it, or put it in the pair or whatever it might be, very easy to move it over to Icon and then throw it into the balanced pool. And also, of course, if you want to sell some USDT or exchange it for BNUSD, you could certainly do that as well. I'm not, as far as I know, I don't know how well the pool is incentivized at the minute.
Just 700,000 on each side.
In terms of liquidity?
Yeah, so not a lot.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think there's not a whole lot of USDT immediately floating around there. So I imagine if people if people feel there's enough incentive for this pool, they'll go get some USDT and then hop in. And because it's two stable coins, the price doesn't really move against each other, so there's really no impermanent loss there. So that there's the risk on this one is definitely lower. I imagine the upside will be lower as well, but just something to consider.
Yeah, and look, I think so. A few things with this. They also there was a proposal to change the incentives, so a little bit of balance gets rewarded to this pool as well. I believe that proposal passed, but enacting it failed, and they're investigating what happened there. So that should get enabled soon. But also, one of the other things that Scott is very hopeful this pair does is the rebalancing that we're experiencing. We've talked about this a bit. We know why it needs to happen. It's designed that way. But what happens is because everyone keeps getting rebalanced and then quickly going and purchasing their ICX again, it counteracts the rebalancing. That's why we see it happening so frequently. Now, what really should be happening is when you get rebalanced, you should be buying back your ICX on an exchange. That's where you will then realize the rebalancing gains, because you always, the rebalancing happens, but you're always being sold or counteracted for profit in either side. So if you move it across, if you had some money on a central exchange and you bought ICX, you'll always find yourself with a higher stash technically. So with IUSDT, what it enables is you can essentially move your BNUSD into IUST and then just port it straight across to an exchange like Binance, for example, straight to the wallet.
Yeah, what I've done is when you use Orbit, it says, okay, where do you want to send this this new token, the wrap token, and you can say just send it to my exchange address. So that way you don't have to send it to your ETH. It's not like you have to send it to your Ether wallet and then pay gas fees out of your Ether wallet to send to exchange.
Exactly.
It can go directly to the exchange from Orbit. So it makes it very easy if you're trying to ARB stuff.
Exactly, and that's the goal there. So, and then if you maybe, because straight away, initially, without giving it too much thought, I thought, well, I was doing that with USDC, right? IUSDC, but the issue was there, you would have to move it to the exchange and then swap it to probably USDT, and then, so, it's an extra conversion, extra fees, extra losses in terms of, you always lose money on a trade, even if it's stable to stable with the fees. So this kind of removes that one extra layer and gives you direct access to ICX. So hopefully this, along with the other news that we'll read out a little bit later, will help with this rebalancing. But this is a big one, and I support even the incentivizing of the pool. I personally support it a little bit here too, because as we called out, 700,000 on each side in the pool currently is nothing. So you really need to be careful if you're trying to move BNUSD to IUSDT. If you do large amounts, you will lose a lot of money. So it'll be great to get more liquidity flowing in there. And hopefully, maybe even in the future, we see IUSDT listed on OHM. Okay, I think that's a great summary. What's next?
Yeah, yep. So BIP 10, which was the reduce the origination fee to 0.75%. We talked about this on last week's episode. It's got about 2 days left on the vote, and last I checked, it was passing by a pretty good amount. So that's something that looks likely to pass and go into. I imagine it wouldn't take too long to implement that. I imagine it's just all you're doing is changing a fee, so it's like you have to build out some whole new things. So I imagine that would go into effect soon.
Yeah.
Did you have any comments on that?
I did. I'd been looking at this and I've read a few more comments in forums and things. And again, I like to paint the full picture here. So people may be seeing this and going, oh, but our fees, the DAO, this, that. Remember, at the moment, there's no demand for BNUSD. Now, if we pause for a moment and go back to MakerDAO, one of the originals. With MakerDAO, initially all you could do was lock ETH and mint DAI. Okay. At the same time, they had two things. They had an interest rate that you had to pay for minting DAI, and they had caps on the total supply. Why? Because they found themselves in the same situation that if they just had people minting unlimited supply and there was no demand, the peg would break. So the only way they could pull the peg back in would be to cap the supply and increase or decrease that interest rate you pay for taking out a loan for the stablecoin DAI. And what was very famous at the time was when we had that big market crash in 2019, 2020. The interest rates for DAI, because it couldn't hold its peg, they went from 5% to 0 for basically 8 months almost, where you could literally lock your ETH and pay no interest rate and borrow DAI and go doing whatever you want with it because the peg had broken, and the only way to do that was to stabilize it. Now, why am I giving context? Because one of the things actually Scott talked about in the post is he highlighted this. He goes, right now there's just too much BNUSD in circulation, and traditionally, if you looked at MakerDAO, the way they would have rope this back in if the peg was consistently being broken is they would have put a cap and they would have increased the interest rates much higher so that people would look at it and go, oh, well, I kind of want to pay down my loan, this is hardly worth it. And by doing that, it would reduce the supply and automatically stabilize the peg. So this is one of those steps that, this is why we're seeing a lot of this. Okay, why are we dropping that fee? Well, in this case, it's impacting it the other way, and we're trying to alleviate the rebalancing aspect of it. So there's a bit of context there as to why there's constant readjusting and looking at these things and trying to figure out, what's going to work best. But ultimately, I think it comes back to one of the other points is there's no demand, and once we see Ohm and some more utility for BNUSD, it should overall help complete our stablecoin, decentralized stablecoin. Anyway, that's all. I wanted to quickly have a ramble about that. Back to you, Icongrapher.
So next we have BIP11, which is actually, it wasn't, I think this is at least the first one I've noticed that was proposed not by Scott. So it was actually came about from a community member. Basically what it is to use SICX in the reserve fund in order to buy back BALN as long as BALN is trading under 0.9 of the ratio to SICX. So this was, with the ICE airdrop coming up soon, there would be potential sell pressure on BALN to buy SICX so people could load up for the airdrop and boost up there, and then obviously it would hurt the price of BALN. Scott weighed in saying basically, I don't really have an opinion on this. There's upsides and downsides, and so there was some in the discussion. Basically, there was some pointing. Someone pointed out that basically, look, we shouldn't we should want the price of BALN to go up because it's a good product, it's a good token, it's good governance, it's all that other good stuff. It's kind of gimmicky to a certain extent to use a buyback in order to just kind of prop up the price, backstop the price. I can see that argument. I can also see, the other side of it being, okay, the ICE airdrop is kind of a unique situation. BALN going down a good amount is probably not good for the future of the protocol. It's kind of bad advertising to a certain extent if people see the BALN drop significantly. So it's clear there's upsides and downsides. I'd certainly encourage you to kind of look through that thread before casting a vote because it's not super clear cut. Obviously you should do that before any vote as well. But I think especially in this case, just because there's a lot of back and forth on it.
Yeah, I think this was the one where it was just put through. It wasn't discussed on the forum. It was just put through as a proposal, and then the discussion was kicked off on the forum. Which is, but look, I think at the end of the day, one thing probably people have noticed is a lot of the proposals are constantly coming from Scott. And now we've seen Brian, which is great. So I think Scott, in the end, this was hilarious about his comment. He goes, he was just happy to see it was proposals coming through from other people, not just himself. So, great. Yeah, I think I can graph everything he said. I have no other comment to that. But it's good to see community members actually now feeling like they can, should I say, step up and put through thoughts. It is a DAO after all.
Yeah.
So
well, I think it's a matter of confidence too. I think it's people, it's kind of like the first kid to raise their hand in class to a certain extent.
Mm.
But once they've gotten more familiar with the process, with kind of what it takes to get something through, and they feel comfortable in terms of how the governance works, I imagine we'll see more and more kind of community led proposals like this.
Yep. Okay, next up.
Yep. So another proposal, which it's on the forum now, as far as I know, it hasn't been formally proposed, is basically to move some SICX and BALN from the emergency reserve to the Dow fund. And just as a refresher, the emergency reserve is there as a kind of a backstop in situations where if someone is liquidated and there's there's still outstanding bad debt that needs to get paid off, the emergency fund steps in order to help cover that. Right now, the fund is pretty flush, the emergency reserve fund, to the point that Scott kind of feels that it's pretty flush, and basically wants to move over some of the BALN and SICX from the reserve fund into the Dow. And so basically in the end, all of it is controlled by the Dow, but better to have it all ready to allocate to other initiatives such as the stability fund rather than sitting in the emergency fund where it's more difficult to allocate to other projects / initiatives. So right now there is in the reserve fund there is 742,000 SICX and 676,000 BALN. So each one trading about $2 right now, just for simple math. Gives us like 2.6 million USD, which again feels sufficient to cover even kind of catastrophic situations. So moving over a little bit to make kind of better use of those funds and be able to better track them. So that proposal will be going up presumably in the near future. I haven't seen a whole lot of pushback on that from the community, at least as of this point.
Yep. No. Great. I think it's great to have an emergency fund, and it's good that stuff is being constantly looked at and rethought of and going, yep, this was the original plan. I guess too much is getting allocated. Let's revise and reshake and move things around. So great to see. The one thing before we jump, Icongrapher, we didn't cover was there was a proposal put through. I can't find it. I'm just trying to look for it. Oh yes, the rebalancing. So did we talk about this last time about Scott's put forward? He was trying to brainstorm some ideas, and this is again where I keep giving credit to Scott. Yeah, I have grumbled, and I will keep grumbling about the rebalancing only because I keep thinking big picture. However, full credit to Scott. He's constantly on the forums trying to think of ideas or engage with the community to one, educate, but also present variations to what we could do to make it less prominent, this component of balance less prominent and impactful. And one of the proposals, as in he's put through, was creating the Dow from the Dow fund, essentially taking some money and creating a rebalancing fund through it. So essentially all the rebalancing would happen through these three pools. Icongrapher, have you had a chance did you look at that by chance?
No, I have not.
No. Okay, that's okay. Didn't mean to put you on the spot, but basically I've got it here. I encourage you to go to the forums and have a look. So see, it's a stability fund that he's proposed, and it's taking basically an even split of tokens from three balanced SICX and BNUSD. And essentially what he's proposing is that when rebalancing happens, it goes to this fund first, and automatically the fund will swap and between the tokens to facilitate the rebalancing. So it would be basically barely any rebalancing would happen to the borrowers. It would happen through this fund. But there's a lot of feedback here. Definitely something to check out. Personally, I have strong views on this. Look, I think it's a great idea. I always come back to, though, like Ohm and Balance, let's not kid ourselves. They are foundation-driven products. And yes, there's other teams that have inputted, but they're core foundation teams, members that have also driven these protocols. And this is something that happens across other chains as well. Terra, all the other chains have this, where they have those key foundational setups that they hope then will drive a lot more adoption and bring more builders, because once these core infrastructure bits are set up, people can keep creating. So I have of the view that going, look, yep, the rebalancing component has been harsher, has been impacting. It could drive away users. I would like to see the foundation chip in personally as well and fund and go, we believe in this and we're here to support this, and this is where we're donating to this fund. So it doesn't come all from the DAO fund. Why I've seen this happen across other protocols in similar, where they have rather than copy pasting, they've created something unique, and that's what to me Balanced is. Balanced is a unique adaptation of a couple of protocols that exist. It's not a copy and paste. And there's this feature, part of it is causing a bit of havoc, and I personally believe if they believe in the product and stuff, they should back it, rather than the DAO fund, which is essentially the iconists who have gotten behind and used the protocol, and fees and stuff that's been taken from there, going to back it. Does that make sense? Have I made a bit of sense, Icongrapher? Have I sounded like I've gone on a bit of a rambling rant?
Yeah, I think this is something we've been talking about for a long time too. And as you alluded to, it's something that's, Scott wants to make everyone happy. Just for the sense of, it's better for the protocol, but it also wants to make sure that the protocol works as designed. So finding the right balance, no pun intended, between all that is no easy task. But I think the stability fund is certainly an intriguing idea. I look forward to digging into that a little bit more, and maybe we'll have a more expanded discussion about it next episode.
Yep. Cool. Okay, what do we got next?
And then finally, we got our first proposal for funding. So all the other ones have been for governance, changes to the protocol. This is the first one to get funding from the DAO to provide kind of a upgrade / adjacent product. It's called Foligator. So basically allows you to the quick synopsis is track your DeFi returns on Balanced Network. So what it is, and I'll quote from the description here. We propose to build a web platform to track portfolio of liquidity mining on Balanced Network. It will help liquidity providers to optimize their yields by having better insight of their investment. It will allow users to keep track of impermanent loss on various pools. The platform can be used by the liquidity providers to perform research using comparison and forecasts of liquidity pool assets. Later we would love to integrate other DeFi and NFT platforms on Foligator. So it seems like a pretty cool, analytics platform to a certain extent. It helps kind of provide better numbers on as far as, rather than manually counting what your impermanent loss has been, you could actually have a hard number behind it, and then you can compare that hard number to the amount of rewards you've earned to figure out if altogether you've been profitable or in the loss, whatever it might be. So certainly something very cool. It looks like they have a lot of kind of features lined up and goals for expansion, and the funding request is only about $7,900. And that includes a back-end developer, a front-end developer, and the hosting costs. So I think that's pretty reasonable for something like this type of project. And certainly there's plenty of funds available in the DAO fund, and the project duration is estimated about 3 months. So certainly something cool to see. I look forward to kind of seeing the other similar proposals that come forward of ways to kind of further build out the ecosystem and other good stuff like that. So very cool to see.
Yep, agree. And this is where quite frequently we talk about, once those dApps are there, people will start coming and building variations or stuff on top of it that can aggregate information in a different way. And this is something, this is what we're seeing. And this team, don't forget, they've actually, I think over here, is it this one? They built a dApp. Here we go. This is the one. I've got it on screen. So this is not just a rogue team that have come in and go, hey, give us some money. Here's a screenshot. They actually built this, which is quite cool. You can put in your address and it tells you all the information around stake, what your rewards would be when the snapshots, etc. And based on this, then they put up a CPS proposal, and there was a bit of feedback going, actually, you should take this to the Balanced DAO and get funding. And that's what they've done. So yeah, it's a no-brainer. It doesn't matter. In my eyes, you know how I feel about this stuff, Icongrapher. If builders are coming, let's give them what they need so that they stay and keep building on Icon. So great to see this.
Yep. Absolutely. So moving on to Ohm, we have the proposal for listing BNUSD on Ohm. So this is something I think we've all kind of been waiting for a long time. There's a whole lot of BNUSD floating around out there. I think a lot of people, they take out the loan because they want to earn. A lot of them want to earn BALN against it. I'm sorry, yeah, to earn BALN as rewards. But ultimately, they end up, a lot of times the BNUSD just ends up sitting there just so they can manage their position. So in this case, though, they can actually now earn some yield on that money they've taken out and borrowed. So certainly, again, something we've been waiting for, and good to see it getting put into place. There's a lot of kind of thoughtful, in the proposal itself. There's a lot of thoughtful economic thought from Scott as far as kind of how it will work and how it will look. So it's not as easy as just saying, okay, here's the pool. There's a bit more that goes into it and things like that. You want to make sure it gets done right. So it looks like the thought has been put behind that. I didn't see it up for, I don't know when the actual timeline for a vote is. I'm trying to remember when this proposal actually went up. But nonetheless, I imagine we'll probably see something here pretty shortly for the first. I guess there's been 2 votes already on the airdrop question for ICE on Ohm. But this will be the first one that isn't of that topic.
Yep. Look, I'm going to be very honest here. This should have just been on launch. BNUSD should have been there. I think the way Scott has articulated everything in this proposal is brilliant. I love he's actually given very detailed examples and why. But I don't even think this level of detail was required. If we cannot get our own stablecoin adopted by our own platform, we got problems. So overall, this should have been a launch feature. We wouldn't have had as much rebalancing happening. But I get it. The team wanted community to decide. But here we are, and I really hope this happens ASAP. And I actually love this example. I don't know, Icongrapher, you said it's detailed. Yep, I love this example he's given of another coin, but he's given an example of how it would work. And basically, this is what it would Ohm would enable on our side for ICX, which is great. So fingers crossed. I hope it goes to proposal soon, and I really hope everyone just votes right away, because if we hit a certain threshold, it can be enacted quicker, isn't it?
Yeah. I've never heard of Luna, so interesting. You would use that one.
What do
I'm
you
just
mean?
kidding.
Just pause the show for a second. We gotta chat. Okay, cool.
So and then moving on. So the other key part is the mechanisms to resolve the ICE airdrop question, which we've discussed in the past. Those went into effect, and so when they first, I checked a few days ago, and there was still like 5 million SICX. I think we might have even talked about it the other day. It's like 5 million SICX still outstanding and getting gobbled up at 120% APR. All the other fun stuff, and that number, when I last checked, was down to about 500,000. That was a few hours ago. I don't know. I'm not able to look at it at this moment, so I don't know if you have it up, Fez, what it is now. But it looks like those mechanisms are going to effect. So hopefully, by the time we have our next episode, and certainly by the time the airdrop actually happens, that number is down to 0, and that way it will be basically designed as successfully as it was supposed to. So certainly good to see that moving down so quickly.
Yeah, look, I don't have it up, but what you said, I think what you had a stat there, and then the other thing, the rates. Have you got a view on this, Icongrapher? Like, so these rates don't put in Ohm rewards. Like, that's just a bonus on top. But in general, the rates on Ohm have been very decent, 30% without rewards.
Yeah, well, even on USDS, I've got without rewards. 49% in supply, 63% borrow. Obviously, I mean the supply at 50% APY on supply is pretty good, and then even on USDC is at 75%. So if you're holding a bunch of stable coins, there's certainly profit to be made. Again, that's not even counting the Ohm bonus. So certainly good to see. I do want to point out, this is something that so right now it says, I'm looking at USDC, 84% APY, 83% APR. Now, you hear those two things and they kind of sound the same. You just think of an interest rate, but I think there's an important distinction here. The APR does not count for regular compounding, right? So the problem is when you're taking out a loan, you know, for like a car loan or something like that, it compounds every month. So that 83%, when it actually compounds, and by the end of a full year, it actually ends up being, you know, it could be like 95% or something like that. In our case, you know, it compounds block by block essentially. So it might be even more extreme. So that 83% over the course of a year might end up being actually, you know, 95 to 100%, something like that. APY, at the other hand, takes into account that calculation. And so that's what, you know, if you stuck $100, if you stuck $100 in there today and didn't touch it at 84% APY, you would have another $84 at 1 year from now. Whereas with the APR, you know, that that goes way higher. So I just wanted to point that out because that was something I noticed the other day where it had. Usually, I've noticed other DeFi platforms, they'll either have APR or they'll have APY across the whole system. But sometimes they'll also have the APR for the loan being shown, and then the APY for the supplying side being another one. So the APY will actually be, I mean, it's kind of more accurate, but it also kind of appear lower. Whereas the APR will sometimes appear lower, so it looks like it's not going to cost as much, but it ends up being a bit more over the course of a year than people kind of initially expect. So just something to be aware of. Just wanted to point that out.
Yep, no, it's a good one. Basically, $100 interest if it just keeps getting put in every 2 seconds. Well, it keeps adding.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a great example, Icongraph, and a good call out. Yeah, good one. I think overall it's good to see rates. I think it's good. Hopefully people move more money onto the platform, and with BNUSD added, that'll be another interesting point. And I think to that as well, it's great to see Scott has actually said that he would like to see the OHM rewards rewarded exactly the same as the other liquidity pools are getting. And I completely agree with this. If anything, I come back to USDS and BNUSD. They are our ecosystem stablecoins. I mean, USDS is across others, but BNUSD in particular, and we should be doing everything we can to make it adoption, just not within our ecosystem and outside as well. So completely agree with that. Sorry, I didn't call that out last time. Okay, other quick news, metrics. So Andrew posted a very detailed update. You'll see your applications get updated, and some changes that are being added is the token tab. So they've added the ability to hide and show individual tokens. And his personal note is it's the biggest update for this release, and he's really looking forward to it. So And you know, I always remember like one of the reasons metrics exist was Token Tech Guy's passion for, he wanted to see information a certain way on Icon, because obviously he was an iconist, so he was like, I'm going to build this app, and then him and DevShack have been working together and creating this brilliant app. So it's great. Then one other change, home tab. So the total asset value on the homepage will store the last known value locally. Yep. So essentially when we load into the app, it will straight away show you figures, but that will be the last save that was on there, and then it will pull information in the background just in case nothing's changed. You want to quickly glance at it. You don't have to keep waiting for the refresh and it to fetch the information. Governance tab, we have added delegations made to OHM to be represented as well, so that's great, because you know you can you stake OHM, and then you can actually go and pick the P-reps you want. The staked OHM that represents SICX in the background, it gets delegated to, so you can now see that in the app itself. And this is a big one. You know, they've introduced these premium notifications where they're adding more things to it. So for example, if you have voted for Rhizome and DevShack, then you will get rebalancing alerts, and you just need to ensure the notification is activated. But it is quite a handy feature if you've got a loan out and you want to know when you're getting rebalanced. This is a great feature, and it's not like you have to pay. All you have to do is delegate some of your voting power to Rhizome and DevShack. So huge update there. Iconographer.
Yeah, no, it's something, but we get the because or at least I'm part of the. I don't know if you have it on your phone, but we get to see the releases that he's testing out, so we get a little bit of sneak peek of the new features and things like that. So I know he's been working hard on it because my phone's been getting blown up by updates and changes and things like that. So it seems like we're pretty close, and it's one of those things that I don't think there's ever really been a complaint about metrics. It certainly helps that it's essentially free. There's those little tweaks here and there that people kind of request and things like that. And Andrew's been pretty responsive to kind of what people are looking for. So it's to a certain extent, it's a very community built project too. Obviously, Andrew and DevShack are doing all the actual work, but it's very much a collaborative effort and takes into account what kind of people are looking for, hoping for, all that other good stuff. So certainly reigns supreme among the icon apps.
Totally. And one call out here. This is I've made this call out a few times. Like, they are consistently keeping the app updated, and this is not through CPS funding or anything. So they had that initial round, and part of all of that, they've been adding all this functionality to it. So always remember that and keep that in mind. It's not just done, dusted, and they're sitting there. They're every day working in the background to enable, when we have dApps changes, things like that, they have to make changes in the background to make sure the app functions correctly. So thank you guys for all your hard work. Okay, next up, so Gangstabet update. Now, I don't know if I'm going to go into too much detail, but look, I will say this: if you're not in the Gangstabet Discord, you should be. Just like the Icon Discord, a lot of their information and updates happen there. I know Brendan and co are so active in there, responding to everything, and you can see how appreciative the team have been with their project selling out. They're so transparent that they're actually updating, saying all the new hires they're doing in each of the departments, some of the changes they're going to make across the marketplace and the leaderboard. They're going to make changes to the homepage and individual pages. So basically, part of the update is they've seen the demand. They're thankful for the community really getting behind their project, and part of this is they're reinvesting these funds in further upgrades to what I thought was already a great site compared to majority of a lot of other NFT launches. And I'm not talking in Icon, I'm talking in other protocols I've seen. Depends on just the marketplace, and that's it. I thought Gangstabet was a leap ahead of everything else in that front, and it's great to see that they're gone, nah, we want to do better. And kudos. I don't know if you had anything Iconographer there.
No, I think you pretty much covered it. And yeah, I would agree that a lot of these discords are popping up, and they are like the key. I don't know if alpha is quite the right word, but a lot of kind of under the a lot of information gets put out there that sometimes I think the big stuff gets posted on Twitter and stuff like that, so it's easy to find that. But there's a lot of interesting discussion. I think there's all sorts of ways people are kind of figuring out the strategy on GBet token and how to hold their Gangstabets and like kind of game that out and stuff like that. So there's a lot of interesting discussion and sometimes some interesting news that's a bit more minor that comes through there. That's cool to see. So even just poking your head in there every once in a while. I know sometimes it can get a little overwhelming between all the different channels. There's an Ohm channel, there's a Balance channel, there's a Gangstabet channel, there's an Icon channel, and then each one of those has its own little sub channel. So there's a lot to keep up with, but it is a cool place to kind of hang out and seek out information and ask questions and all that good stuff. So certainly encourage both for Gangstabet, but also all the other apps and platforms that have Discords.
Yep. Agree. Yeah. Oh, look, my Discord's a mess. In fact, I actually have to keep closing it because I keep getting notifications, like boop, boop, and I can't figure out which server it's coming from. I keep thinking I've muted them all, but there's one rogue server. But right. Yeah, look, it's a go-to place now, Discord, because communities are getting bigger and they want to ask questions or in terms of on different subjects that are still around the either communities like Gangstabet or protocols, and Discord enables that. So definitely, if you're really into Gangstabet, you have a ton of gangsters, you really want to know the ins and outs, you need to be on their Discord, because there's constantly people sharing how they're looking, how they're understanding which ones are rare, what how they search the site and determine what's rare and hunt for it on the stores. And I know Steve, one of the monks of Ohm, he's right into Gangstabet as well, and he's put up some tweets around how he's sifting through looking for rare attributes and then trying to find them in the marketplace. He's hoping someone's trying to sell it for cheap, and he's actually found a couple of really rare ones selling for really cheap. So something to definitely get involved in. Actually, I didn't even load up the Gangstabet site. It was over here. Sorry, everyone. But yep, I think that's my 2 cents there. Icongraph, I think that concludes the news. Is there anything we've missed?
Yeah. Nope, I don't think so.
No, great. Okay, as always, everyone, it is not financial advice. Do your own research. We're just two guys sharing news about an ecosystem we're very passionate about and want to see be successful. So keep that in mind. And as always, please like. We get decent views always, steadily, but not as many likes. So if we can get those likes and views to match up, we are going to get noticed by people who have probably just heard of Icon, and all of a sudden it comes up in their ads and stuff, Iron Icon, and they click on it and bam, we have a new user for life. So please like, subscribe, share, and once again, thank you everyone for listening. Until next time, take care all.
See ya.